I bought a new Seiko, but why? Scottish Watches turns 300. We look at the weirdest Omegas ever made. And Chris and I broach the controversial subject of spring bars. Welcome back to Casual Watch Talk. You're joined by Sam and Chris. Chris, how have you been?
Pretty good. And you, Sam?
I have also been good, thank you.
Oh, excellent. Pleasantries
Thanks
abound.
for asking.
Pleasantries abound.
Pleasantries around, exactly. Well, let's roll straight into Wristwatch Check. What are you wearing there?
All right. I've got for work today. Went back to the what I call the work everyday carry. My Bell & Ross BRV2 93 GMT. This is like my everyday work watch. I've got it on the same styles, that soft rubber strap that I had my Zin on last week, and just because I wanted to wear it, and then I said maybe it's the strap. I've had hit and miss with bracelets. I went probably 3 weeks with the bracelet for the Christopher Ward, and the weight of the watch plus the weight of the bracelet. I mean, it's a decent sized chronograph. It's a mechanical chronograph. It's got some heft to it. And kind of both of those things combined kind of put me off bracelets for a little bit. So I'm enjoying the rest of the summer with no bracelet.
Oh, that's interesting because I'm wearing my Christopher Ward. No surprise there. I love this thing. Although I did buy a new watch, which we'll be coming to later. But I find that this watch, maybe because my bracelets are 20 mil.
Okay.
But this watch just suits the bracelet. Now, I'm not a huge one. Over the years, I've never really worn a watch consistently on the bracelet. And I just think this suits the bracelet more. And because it has that adjustable clasp where I find myself opening it more and closing it during the day, it's an ingenious design. I'm a big fan of the Christopher Ward bracelet myself.
Yeah, no, I think the bracelet's good. I just, for whatever reason, it's a bigger watch, isn't it? Yeah, it's a bigger watch, and then it just was like, kind of heavy on the bracelet, and I was like, maybe I could, and I often have this the bracelet for the Bell & Ross GMT is fantastic, and I often have it on there. I'm strange like that. I think we had this discussion before, but it was like when it gets cold and raining, I'm going for the bracelet, and I'm not sure why, but I'm not a summertime bracelet guy. So
yeah, and we'll go over this later because for a main topic, we're going to talk about spring bars, which seems boring, but there's actually a lot to it. And I haven't worn a NATO for ages, but we'll get to that later. Anyway, should we dive into? So we've done Wristwatch Check, Christopher Ward, and you're on the Bell & Ross. I always look at Bell & Ross. They do make some good looking watches.
Yeah. Yeah.
Should we do another thrilling episode of Hit or Miss?
I saw we kind of was the middle of the road. We didn't get any flack for the last one. Everybody sort of agrees, I think, on the Omega. They're like amazing dial on a watch that's too modern. So it was kind of the take on that.
Absolutely. Well, this one, I think it's a Seiko. So we were a bit up and down with Seiko last week, and I think we'll just continue that.
Just beating them about,
But let's share this with you. Now, this, first of all, this is the watch that's going to be hit or miss. It's the Turtle. But I nearly fell over when I went on this website because I'm like, this isn't a Seiko website. Where's the one picture of each of the watches?
Right.
This looks awesome for a Seiko.
It looks pretty good. Right. With the background.
Yeah, it looks
ready to go
looks
for
like
a dive.
They've at least put half an effort into it.
Yeah. And this is the main splash page. Ah, great.
Yeah, they've done a fantastic job.
Good.
Normally, you get one sterile picture of the watch.
Right.
I think they're up in their game. I think they have to, don't they, these days?
Yeah. That standard Amazon white background square with no marking on it. That's the super, every retailer has to do that, but they also don't have to do that.
Yeah, when your whole marketing team is like, oh, TGV will talk about it and it'll sell.
That's right.
Well, these are, so they're turtles, obviously, but what's funny about them is they're turtles.
Right.
So they've actually taken, the shell on them. They've got this rust-coloured one. They've got turquoise or teal, I suppose it's also called, and then this blue one here. I've asked the local AD here whether they're getting any in, and they are. So
cool.
I'll be having a look at one, and we'll get more to the AD in a bit.
Yeah.
But what do you? I mean, these dials are going to be spectacular.
Yeah, I'm sure. Seiko does a great dial.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're going to be $750. I think they're just based on the turtle. They're not based on what was it called? The king turtle.
Okay.
So it is that standard movement, isn't it? It doesn't.
Yep.
Oh, it has got sapphire crystal with reflective coating.
Oh,
there we go.
Good.
What do we think then?
I'm gonna say hit. I think it's cool. We love the turtle here, right?
Yes, I think they're cool. I reserve my judgment about the movement that they're perhaps using a 750, but I suppose it's reasonable. I also think it's a hit. So we'll go with hit.
Hashtag turtle.
Well, believe it or not, we were talking about this watch last week, and I just fell for it. I didn't technically break my Seiko rule, which is that I'm not buying a Seiko mechanical until I can afford a spring drive. But it was that quartz speed timer. I couldn't resist it, Chris, after we talked about it last week. The blue here. So it's not yet available, but I went in to speak to my neighborhood AD, which is a little plug from here at Orlando Watch Company. So Nick said that actually they're only getting a handful in. The Seiko rep had been, and they're getting 3 of the whites, 1 of the blue, and then I think 1 of the black as well. And so I was like, I've got to have the blue. So I went in. I had to pay retail for it because it was a pre-order. I'm just hoping that I can get a review out quick as soon as I get it. But yeah, really, really kind of fell for this one. I think do you think it's expensive for a quartz 675? It probably is, isn't it? But
I mean,
I'm really interested to see.
We talk about this all the time. I mean, like this price point has been bandied about many times. It's, if you love it, if it's a great looking watch, if if it's your thing, then yeah, it may be a little bit higher price, but you're not necessarily, there are plenty of other watches there that are higher priced than that are still only quartz.
I haven't been excited about a Seiko for a long time, and I'm really interested to see what this is. A couple of things people pointed out to me. First of all, it's only got 2 micro adjustments on the bracelet, but the bracelet does look like it's completely solid. I wish they'd put some decent photos on there. It looks to be nicely proportioned. I'm really interested to see this quartz, the VK 192, I think it is in there.
I'm interested to see the dial on video. I want to see, maybe give me a better indication, because I'm sure it again, it's this e-commerce white background, bright white background. You're like, well, it's a blue watch, but blue watch on a bright white background is going to look a little different. So that would be interesting to see what color it actually is, because now you're pre-ordering it, so you haven't seen it in person, taking a little bit of a risk. Okay.
They did say that they'd seen one in blue, and the blue was a lot better than the photos. I believe
it too. Yeah, I was that. Yeah, I mean, with the Seiko dials, they are one of the companies that I would take a chance on for their dials. Like if it looked a certain way, I would definitely take a chance to say, for Seiko, I was like, yeah, take the chance. It's probably going to look better than their hot white e-commerce photo. That's great. And hopefully you'll be first on the scene to report the 24-hour change.
I'm hoping that as soon as they get it in, I'll get it. I'll put a review together quickly.
Fly over there. They're
only down the street, luckily. But,
take the chopper if you need to.
Take the chopper. Yeah, exactly. You mean the news chopper?
Yes.
Take the news chopper down
there. We're live at the Seiko AD.
One of the interesting things they did say as well is they might be getting the mechanicals in.
Ooh.
So if they've got one of those, I'm going to beg them to let me review one. And they also might be getting the turtles in, which we did on Hit or Miss. So I will. Yeah. So I'll let you know.
Put the hard case with all the SLR and lighting equipment in the helicopter when you go down there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
For sure,
absolutely. Well, I'll keep everyone posted. It's due in November, so hopefully I've only got a month to wait. Before we dive into the main part of the show, I wanted to do a little shout out for another podcaster, and that is Scottish Watches. So Ricky reached out to me, and I hadn't realised, Chris, they've got up to 300 episodes.
Oof. Good times.
So they've just celebrated their 300th episode. They released the podcast, I think it was on a couple of days ago now, so it will have been out about 5 days by the time I edit this one together.
Yeah.
They celebrating 300th episode. They interviewed the wife and daughter of Gerald Genter.
Oh, that's great.
It's fascinating because his wife was super knowledgeable about his watches.
Oh, that's great.
She was wearing one of her own, knew the numbers and everything.
Oh, that's great, yeah.
She really, obviously, she was very devoted to him, and the daughter as well. So the daughter was wearing a Minnie Mouse watch, which they'd gifted to her when she was a child.
One of the Genta. Well, he's done. The Mickey Mouse hands. We just saw the new one that was released, or in that re-released re-edition style. Pretty cool. Yeah, good for them. 300's that's a big number.
Absolutely, yeah. So I won't spoil it for you. Head on over there. Hopefully, we'll get on our show also. Hopefully, we can get onto Scottish Watches as well. But one of the interesting things that I didn't know about Scottish Watches, Chris, was they're ranked in the top 10 of UK Apple podcasts under the hobbies and interests category, and the top 50 in the US. And they started in January, and they only started in January 2019, and now they're at episode 300. So we need to up our game. They're doing 2 a week.
Yeah. All right.
But they don't do the YouTube one, so they don't have the, they don't have to put all the makeup on and everything.
Right, the crossover. You got to get this. You got to clean this set up. I mean, this takes time.
A full production crew and a professional editing team.
Yeah, this takes time.
That may or may not also work for Teddy Barber's art. No.
Exactly.
Anyway, so So congratulations, Ricky and team, on 300 episodes. This next story, it's something that popped up on Hodinkee, and Hodinkee have some great photos, so I thought, why not show them off? I knew somebody who collected these particular Omega watches, but people have mentioned it on our forum, and you see it crop up all the time where somebody will show a picture of these Omega Dynamics and ask whether they're real or not. And I feel like that's a legitimate question because they do look fake. They look like fake Omegas.
Yeah, it's that style of the typeface that they use for the Arabic numerals. That script slanted style that's totally unique. That you don't see in a lot. So I mean, I think the other place you see them is the super 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 cheap Seiko watches from India. The like Seiko 5s, the like that are like remade. You see that sort of font typeface style. So.
And it also looks like it's overprinted, isn't it? With the orange over the white letters. When you see them, it looks like it's almost like a slight printing mistake. They're fascinating. I mean, this one is a fascinating one as well. And Joe, I don't know if you're listening, Joe, but Joe, who was a friend of the show, who let me review a couple of his watches a long time ago, he collects these, and they are pretty cool in person. Yeah. And the article kind of revolves around the history of them, the dynamic watches, and also the fact that they're pretty cheap to pick up. They haven't yet hit their peak.
Right. I wonder if it was maybe for a different market.
Maybe.
Like the Mark 40, like for the Japanese market, that they just similar where Omega sort of with all the numerals on the Speedmaster and marketed it, and seemed like a Japanese market for them for that. So that'd be interesting to maybe dig into and find out sort of where Where were those, who were those marketed to?
I need to get hold of one so I can do a proper review of one, but Hodinkee did a really interesting article. As with everything, we'll leave a link in the description down below. But it just reminded me, I've seen it on a couple of forums where people are like, is this a real Omega? And like, yeah, it is, and it does actually look like that.
It reminds me of the North Flag, I think, gets that too. I think people see the North Flag and they're like, wait, is this it says Tudor on the dial. What is this? Because it's not like any other style. It's a super unique style.
Do you know what I saw today? I was in Whole Foods, and the cashier had a Black Bay 58 on with the bracelet. Now I own the Black Bay 58 yes. with that ridiculous NATO strap. Oh God,
I know. Yeah.
But it looks incredible on the bracelet.
And you were like, you need to give that. Did you call him out? Come on, Sam, you got to call him out. He doesn't.
No,
he's not.
Say anything.
He's very anti. He's such a nice British, not confrontational guy. See, I would have said something, and then I would have gotten into a fight about it or something.
Oh, about him having the bracelet.
Where'd you get that bracelet?
Oh no. Well, yeah, I picked my moments. So perhaps nicer on the. Well, let's. So anyway, so I saw it, and it looked awesome on the bracelet. But we're going off on a bit of a tangent here.
That's no problem.
Next story is from Watch Pro, and this is interesting. And I had a little chuckle, and we had a little chuckle about this before. So, the title of the article is "Dreams of owning a Rolex are driving every other brand to the margin," and it's an interesting article about how. When 55% of watch buyers want a Rolex, the rest of the watch companies are fighting for this 45% margin. What I thought was interesting was Watches of Switzerland. They've got some interesting statistics in this article, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
One is that Watches of Switzerland Group says that 80% of the sales only come from 10 brands.
Okay.
And that, in fact,
80%. Okay.
Yeah. And then it says this is obscuring the fact that the business used to share until last year, which is that over half of the sales were from Rolex.
Right.
So they must have really been hurting with with this lack of supply. Yeah. And then what made me giggle about this article, because it's like, why are you giggling about statistics? But Richemont Group, who own Watchfinder, commissioned a survey where they interviewed 20,000 watch lovers from over 140 countries. And it said Rolex dominated the response, which Chris is, of course, hilarious because Richemont Group don't own Rolex.
Right. Wow. I know. I mean, that's a tough one to swallow.
Yes, and they were saying that essentially these surveyors, if money was no cost, majority of people, not only do they love Rolex, but they're saying that the best Rolex to own is the Daytona, the platinum one.
Oh, yeah.
The one... And it's saying that the Patek was the second most popular watch brand, which of course isn't a Richemont one. And then it says Omega came in. Omega came in at third place, and it said Watch Pro here is very diplomatic. They said disappointing to Richemont, since it ultimately funded the study, was the discovery that only a Lange & Söhne from its staple made the top 5.
Wow. Now, you had mentioned, so you said that of their, so this is you said Watches of Switzerland, of their top, so the 80% of 8 brands, was that this takeaway?
10 brand, yeah. So a separate statistic was that Watches of Switzerland Group says that 80% of its sales comes from 10 brands.
10 brands, okay, so...
and then a half of that,
right.
So I don't know why they didn't say 40%, but they're saying like half of those sales are Rolexes, or were Rolexes.
I could probably name those 10 brands. I'm thinking about like a Watches of Switzerland, like it just as you go around,
Hamilton,
Cartier, Breitling, maybe
Patek, they do, I think.
Yeah, maybe Bell and Ross, maybe. I wouldn't expect them to be high, but I don't know.
Longines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, Hamilton. I'm trying to think, like that would be interesting to sort of see, because we sort of have a view when we walk into a watch, like when you walk into a Watches of Switzerland, or you walk into some of these Swiss watch dealers, and you see the booths or the spaces that they have, and they're pretty well divided. But it doesn't give you the indication that it's like that back corner where Cartier is, I'm sure, is moving way more stuff off across that counter than maybe, like a Longines or a Hamilton. That's that kind of thing. So
when it came to the most wanted wristwatch models, 6 of the top 10 were from Rolex, as you'd expect.
Oh, wow.
So 16% of the survey respondents named the Daytona.
Of course.
In second place, the Submariner. The Nautilus came in at third, followed by the GMT Master, and then the Rolex Datejust. The Royal Oak crept in the top 5 with 3.9%, and then it said amongst other
and they said
designs.
Like watch enthusiasts. So this isn't like men and women off the street. This is like this is folks that.
Yeah, they call them 20,000 watch lovers from 140 countries.
That's a pretty good. I think that's good data, because I wouldn't think that there are 20,000 like watch enthusiasts, like maybe in the country, maybe in the United States total, super hardcore listeners and viewers.
And plus
of
they're
our
going
channel.
on Watchfinder, so they're looking for
Right.
pre-owned watches, aren't they?
True.
So they'll usually know. They're not just somebody who doesn't perhaps know a lot about Rolex and would just go into a Rolex store or something like that. They're obviously doing their research when they hit the Watchfinder website.
Speaking of used, did I see that Crown and Caliber is now Hodinkee? Are they sort of rebranding that?
No, I wondered this. Somebody posted it on the Facebook group, didn't they? Either it's... I know that they're partnered, aren't they? And then Hodinkee did this long video about how they were going to service every pre-owned watch before they sell it, service and polish it. Yeah. So I think you're right, because I think Crown and Caliber they inspected every watch, didn't they?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, I think they did sort of the same. I wonder if the Crown and Caliber marketing is going away, or the brand is going away.
Yeah, possibly. It still looks like the website is branded Crown and Caliber, because didn't they? Yeah, you're right. I think ultimately it will do, because weren't they doing Hodinkee selection from Crown and Caliber, and they had a few pieces on Hodinkee's website from Crown and Caliber. But I wouldn't be surprised if they went completely to what you're thinking, like a Hodinkee pre-owned or
it was yeah. They I saw an article that was like something like that. It was like like Hodinkee pre-owned. And we talked about this on the Facebook group a little bit. It's go capitalism. Sell whatever you can, but at the same time, it definitely crosses the line, blurs the line a little bit when you have the article about the watch, and then you have the sale of the watch, and then the used sales of the watch. It kind of the whole supply chain. Yeah,
it's like the somebody that's made the film, distributed the film, then reviewed the film, and then sells you the film.
Yeah,
on DVD.
And it's fine. Again, Blu-ray. It's fine, but it reminds me of like when we were kids, with Nintendo Power. Where we thought, like, oh, this is this great magazine that tells you all the magic tricks about all the games. We want to buy these games and play these games. And you're like, and then you find out as an adult, you're like, yeah, Nintendo owned all of that. And then you're like, what? What is this trick?
And the cartoon that they did as well.
Right.
They were like, everything.
We were hooked. We were kids of the 80s and 90s, hooked.
Well, what I thought we would talk about for a bit of a main topic, Chris, was the exciting world of spring bars. Now, what spurred me on, I was researching spring bars myself, and then I came across this article that Jack at Hodinkee wrote. It was some time ago, and it was about the history of spring bars. So I thought, oh, great, we'll do a little story on the history of spring bars, but it is boring. So what I thought we would do...
the title definitely doesn't catch me. Don't title this video that.
Yeah, if you're into engineering and like how spring bars came about and how they work, then it is interesting, and also it makes some interesting facts, like the same spring bars are used on $200 watches or $75,000 watches.
Yeah, I feel this is great for a black and white 1940s, the humble spring bar. And like with the machines manufacturing it, you're like, yeah, I could watch that on YouTube for about 6 minutes. So perfect. Yeah.
Spring bars, the danger.
Right.
Do you know could easily lose an eye with a spring bar.
Do you know where your spring bars are? You know, where they come from. Where are your spring bars?
Where are your spring bars at night?
Yeah, exactly. They're roaming the streets.
There is some interesting little bits in here. If you're really into early design and invention and stuff like that, it is interesting. It does go into a lot of history, but what I wanted to talk about was it's a subject that it's so integral to the watch, but nobody ever really talks about spring bars.
Yeah.
And I geek out a little bit about spring bars. I was never a fan of quick release ones, but I've changed my view on that.
Okay.
I'll only wear the fat bars, which I'll show you.
Okay.
For Natos, because I'm paranoid about Natos.
I read somewhere, and I totally believe this. Now that I've handled a number of watches and pre-owned, etc. I'm pretty sure you can tell. Like, I've heard watchmakers be like, "These aren't Rolex spring bars. These aren't Tudor spring bars. These aren't like high end." Like you get the loop out and you take a look and you're like, "Nope." I mean, I thought about sorting mine. I've got some. I try to keep the spring bars that came with the bracelet in that same pack of hardware. Like, don't mix that in with the bushel barrel ones that you can get on, Amazon or whatever.
I was joking a little bit in the headlines about it being controversial, but I have got, it might be unfounded, but I've got a weird obsession. I will not put a NATO on a strap, on a watch, unless it has these fat bars.
Okay.
So I highly recommend these from Holben's.
Okay.
They are they're much thicker.
Okay.
And actually, Uncle Seiko, all of his straps will accommodate these much thicker spring bars because they're the same thickness or similar thickness to Seiko ones. Except these have a little lip on them, so they're easy. But I'm convinced, and I've had this happen to me, and you see it a lot on forums, and this is totally conjecture on my part. I've got no evidence to prove this, but I'm convinced that certain NATO straps put unnecessary strain on watches. So you'll often see, my NATO saved my watch.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but did it, or did you have like a really thin spring bar on there?
Right.
And the NATO, because the NATO applies pressure in different ways. I don't know what your view on that is.
I agree. I think there's a fulcrum there where when you weave a NATO strap through the spring bars, you get a different pressure. So normally, if you just had like a spring bar holding onto a leather strap, you basically only have a pull in one direction. It's basically pulling on it from away from the lugs of the watch. When you weave the NATO through there, there's a little bit of downward, and the way they a lot of people, I used to think that there was some magical tool that drilled the lugs, and it's actually not a magical tool. It actually is just a drill bit at a slight angle. So I used to think that like they came in with like this right angle, super special drill bit to get and you're like, no, this is too complicated. They take the case and they hold it at a certain angle, and it's like a 10-degree angle. You can't tell. But again, so you have this slight angle of where the lugs get drilled. And so depending again on how that happened, and like how, if you have these like chintzy, cheap spring bars that don't have enough engagement into the watch, I could totally see it.
I always use the fat bars if I'm using NATOs. For a long time, I was not convinced about quick release spring bars, and I think that's because you used to get them on cheaper straps, didn't you? It's only recent years, like on my Christopher Ward, there's quick releases, and it works amazing, because sometimes getting normal spring bars on a bracelet that has integrated end links is it drive you insane.
I was the silicone Bartons that came with the quick release. I was a little nervous of those when those first came out, to the point where I on my Turtle, because I knew I was going to be in the lake with it, I just swapped it out for a solid. I don't think I could get a fat one in there, but I just swapped it out for a good known solid spring bar that it was like, it wasn't gonna, I was like, because it's just the one, it's just the 2-piece strap. I'll say this, and this is a plug for Campagnato Club, my watch strap company. So take that as you will. But if the quick release, if the little, I'd say, what is it called?
Like the little tab or the little handle thing.
Yeah, if the little tab, if that thing is not digging into your thumbnail when you're trying to compress it in order to get it on your watch, it's no good. I mean, it should have some pretty good tension. I find the rubber strap that I've got on today as well, like you got to really dig in there, and so I find the newer ones, they sort of fix that. But I've definitely held some pretty chintzy ones where, you feel like it just would like flip over and pop off.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think I've got a lot more comfortable now. And these Christopher Ward one on the Christopher Ward strap, they've got some huge, very substantial tabs on them, haven't they?
Oh yeah, on the bracelet. Yeah, it was the first for me to see a bracelet with the quick change. But they're really like substantial, like 2 millimeter square tabs.
Yeah, and they compress from both sides as well, don't they? It's not just from one side.
And not like a little bolt that, like, locking pin bolt that comes over.
I actually like that other companies do this. This isn't a particular plug for Christopher Ward. Veya on their metal strap, theirs is quick release, but I would highly recommend it because getting quick release on a bracelet is an advantage because you won't scratch the watch either getting the spring bar tool in there, which can easily happen. I use masking tape to, maybe that's a little tip. If for a new watch or if I'm changing the watch strap on somebody else's, I will put masking tape over the lugs on each side, assuming that it doesn't have the quick release spring bars on it. But doing the strap change with those, it's night and day. I mean, I brought the bracelet for the Christopher Ward to a watch meet, and halfway through the meet I was like, let me show you what the bracelet's like, and just was like, shh. And I 100% would never do that with any of my other, like any Zen, Bell & Ross, no way, because that is like, first of all, like you don't want to like this, the Bell & Ross in particular, the lugs bend down pretty fast, and they're a little thin, and the solid end link fits that shape so well and so perfectly that it's hard to get in there with the spring bar. Yes. Yeah.
And so, that's under lighting and the watch glasses with the loop on, and like getting in there with the spring bar tool, and maybe some tape. That's a process. That's a winter time. We're switching to the bracelet.
One thing I will say, whilst we're talking about spring bars, and it was a very early video that I made of a spring bar system that I dislike intensely, and that is for Fortis watches where they have the bar with the screw.
Right. Yes.
Because I had it where I think it would probably be fine on one of their metal bracelets, but on their rubber bracelet and their leather bracelet, there's a hard plastic insert, and the problem is it misaligns the hole. The hole is only big enough to accept the exact right positioning of the bar. It's hard to explain on here.
As the pin, as it comes all the way through one side, the leather, the tube between the leather and to the other side, and so then you're 22 millimeters to the other side.
A fraction out, and you can't get it through. It should be. It should almost be shaped like conically at the end, so that it will reseat itself, but it doesn't. And honestly, I ended up sending the watch back because I couldn't get the strap back on, and I sent it back to Joma Shop, and they accepted it. I said, I can't get this strap back on. And they were like, a strap change is a modification. I'm like, it isn't. I just tried to change the strap. And they did take it back. I made a video on that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people had issues with it. I actually took it down.
Yeah. Another thing, from an engineering standpoint, If you cross thread those lugs, if you cross thread those threads, you're not getting anything on there. You can't, you'd have to switch over to a, and I bet that pin is probably bigger than a standard size spring bar.
It's proprietary to them.
Right.
Yeah.
So then you can't put any strap on it. That's great. Yikes. Yeah.
Have you ever experienced a watch? I don't often see them. I was just noticing it on Holben's here. I don't know whether I like them, but the curved spring bars. I know there's a Hamilton, the I forget what it's called. Todd's got one, hasn't it? Is it the Pan-European?
I think maybe.
They have those spring bars. Typically, these are for watches. Would you say that have a very small distance between the lugs and the case?
Yeah, I was actually going to point out. So your enjoyment of the fat spring bars, I definitely could not fit fat spring bars on this watch. I think the Christopher Ward with the chronograph, how close the lugs are to the chronograph, I think it'd be a tight fit there too. And you'd have to really like crank the strap through. And then there again, you're putting sort of extra stress on that spring bar. So this is an interesting solution. I have seen it. I think it was what is the brand? What is that car brand that does the Mille Miglia? Chopard.
Okay.
I think I was at the Chopard AD, and I saw something of theirs. I think they did it because it was a particularly tight fit, and they went with a very luxurious, thick leather bracelet, leather strap. And so it just needed a little bit more flex room to kind of get around the head of the watch.
I think you just reminded me as well, another thing that I would highly encourage you, if you can get the thicker spring bars, leather Natos, because sometimes those are brutal on the trying to get them fed through the spring bars, and then actually the pressure that they must exert an incredible amount of pressure, the leather ones, because you're having to sort of, depending on how supple the leather is, obviously, you're having to sort of form it around your wrist. But, so guys, it's just a little, this isn't like a paid sponsorship for Holben's, but I just noticed that they have these.
Yeah, and you've had good luck with them. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just get very particular about my spring bars, and I know we haven't talked about it on the show before. So
yeah, I need to. I get like I'm in the bucket of like I've got a bucket that is just marked 2220, and now you've made me petrified because I've definitely gone through it and taken a look again with the loop and just quickly been like, yeah, this one's garbage. Bing, and then they're like, yeah, this one isn't good, you know.
Typically, ones that you get free with watch straps, I tend to think are not that good.
Yeah.
Especially if you're buying them for AliExpress or something, they always send like the really like hair thin spring bars. I wouldn't.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, that definitely the two tips there is like sort of pay attention, and so far so good with my tip of hanging onto the spring bar, the original spring bars that came with the bracelet. Yes. Those are, keep those in the bag, and then and then maybe pick out something that you spent more. I picked up there was a kit on Amazon that I am it almost went straight in the trash, and it was like one of those ones where I needed a funky size for a G-Shock.
Okay. And
so I had I think it was like a 14 mil. It was this tiny one, and and it's classic Amazon. It's like, why buy one for $4 when you can buy a pack of 80 for $6? This kind of thing. Go Amazon Prime, not a plug. And it came in, and I mean, I won't even use I should just toss it, because the 20 and 22 mil in there, they're super thin. They feel cheap, and I'm with you. I think you can notice. I haven't been a stickler about it, but I totally agree. Now I'm gonna obsess about it. This is my new watch obsession, Sam. My new spring bar watch obsession.
Well, exactly. Well, anyway, guys, let us know over on the Facebook group. And thank you to all the new members that have joined this week. Let us know on the Facebook group if you're obsessed about spring bars, as I am. As always, we really appreciate you listening and watching on YouTube. And we'll see you next time on Casual Watch Talk. Thanks, guys. Bye.